Hey, what's up, y'all? This is GC Kinsey, and today I'm going to be talking with my friend Scareoline about misconceptions around asexuality and how that can have an impact firsthand on ace people. A little while back, I posted a video called Asexuality is Not, and that was basically an expanded version of a comic I made a few years before that around a lot of the things people get asexuality mixed up with, ways that they misunderstand it. And since I posted that video, I've had a lot of really great conversations with some of my fellow ace spectrum friends about how we have faced all of those kinds of misconceptions firsthand. And one of those friends and I thought it would be a really cool idea to actually talk about that with all of you. So I am very, very excited to introduce my guest, Scareline.
Hey everybody, what's up? Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled and honored to be here, so I'm excited.
So why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hello, my name is Scareline, and I would say I do a lot of body positivity stuff. I love cosplaying. I love doing special effects when I can and my vision will let me. Um, and yeah,
So where do you fall on the spectrum of asexuality?
I would say I prefer the term demi-bisexual, and the definition for me is I am attracted to both men and women. I don't really care about gender that much. And where the demi part comes in for me is I don't experience sexual attraction until like I really know a person. I also consider myself very sex positive. I'm open to having sex. I quite enjoy it. So, yeah, I think that's where I fall.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, just I wanted to point out, so I am demi-romantic, not demisexual, but if you have never heard of demi before, I have another video on my channel that you can watch, so I'm going to link that here so you can check that out. I want to dive in by talking about one of the misconceptions that I mentioned in my other video, which is about how a lot of people tend to mix up asexuality with celibacy. So, have you ever encountered anyone kind of getting those two terms confused, and how has that affected you?
I would say I definitely have been met with confusion. In particular, when I was single, I was in the dating scene, but I had not realized I was on the asexual spectrum because I had my own misconceptions about it. I had a really hard time finding people who were compatible with me, because especially within dating culture, I feel like it is so common to kind of hook up and engage in sexual activity right away, which is totally fine. But for me in particular, I think it was expected of me right away to engage with these people, and I didn't really know them. I would say, I felt repulsion, you know what I mean? Like the idea of somebody who I don't really know touching me, made me want to vomit. I mean, it's weird because I do sexual content. Like, I like it because I like feeling empowered. I like making people happy. I love people, feeling something when they see me. But what I don't like is, in particular, in real life, when I've repeatedly stated a boundary. I've definitely have been in a situation in my past where I feel like the person was so focused on like changing me or like coercing me into doing things. I hate feeling like a fetish. It is okay to have feelings for somebody. It is okay to be sexually attracted to somebody. I don't want somebody to hear me speak and make it seem like I'm punishing somebody for like finding me or somebody attractive. Like what I am saying is like don't fetishize a person to the point where you just see them as a sexual object and not a person.
One of the really common phrases that you'll hear in the asexual community a lot is action is not attraction. So I just wanted to ask if anyone has ever tried to invalidate your orientation based on your actions. Have people ever been surprised by the kind of stuff that you post online, and how did that make you feel?
I remember in particular, I posted a picture on my Facebook, And it was like your local asexual. It was like a really cute like Snapchat filter, and this person commented, do you just look up your like sexuality on the dictionary? I hit the unfriend button, and I had people stick up for me in the comment section being like, don't invalidate her sexuality. If you have friends like that, keep them in your corner because, when you're in this community, you're gonna need all the help and support you can get. I've even had like friends, so-called friends, distance themselves from me because of my views shifting and how I'm changing. And I'm really young. I'm 21 years old, so I'm just now like shifting into being an adult. And of course, my views are gonna grow and change. I mean, I think it would be concerning if I didn't evolve or change. For the longest time, I felt like I was put in a box and like I couldn't explore anything outside of that box. And growing up in a Christian conservative type environment, I was very scared to explore any queer identity. I just felt like a prisoner in my own sexuality. I felt like a prisoner in my own head, my mind. And when I first heard of people doing OnlyFans, because, quarantine and all that, and people got to make money, at first I had my reservations, but the more I got into it, I fell in love with it because for me, it creates a safe space because I can explore my sexuality and what I like within my own terms. I'm a solo person, nobody does it with me, and I just do like pictures and stuff. So I like it because I can explore my body and like what looks good on me, what doesn't, what I like on my body, what I don't, and nobody else is there. So I enjoy having my own little bubble and my own little space that I can like tweak and kind of play around with. I've always had an interest in that kind of work, within the BDSM scene and stuff like that. But I never want to be a part of a company where, I'm in a contract or I'm in something that I can't get out of. The reason why I like OnlyFans is, like I said, it's in with my control. It was surprising to people, but I don't think it was because of maybe my sexuality, maybe. I don't know. It was more of, oh, didn't see that coming. You know what I mean? Because nobody really expected it from me. But yeah, I would say the misconception that, asexuals can't be sex work or don't like sex work, I think is complete BS. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's really interesting how something like OnlyFans or, all kinds of other forms of sex work where you're sort of the one in control, you're the one calling all the shots, can be really, really empowering. And I think in particular, I like the fact that that's something that people on the ace spectrum can talk about. I know several other ace spectrum sex workers as well, and I think it's really important that we kind of don't erase that segment of the community and really just be clear about that point that action does not equal attraction, and that kind of, even if you're doing things that are seen as sexual, that does not invalidate you as an ace spectrum person. You mentioned, BDSM, and you mentioned, making adult content, and I wanted to ask, how can something like kink empower aces?
Well, I'll let the ball gag speak for itself. But no, absolutely. I mean, I can't speak for every asexual, but it definitely can. I can speak for myself. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think that you can be asexual and have an interest in kink. I think BDSM is very interesting, especially the history with it. So I don't think there's anything wrong, or it doesn't like you don't like. I don't think the asexual police are gonna come knocking at your door, being like, "Oh, you got this? Well, give me your card." We're people, we're humans, so of course we're going to be curious, of course we're going to have things that may interest us. It doesn't always mean we want to engage in that particular sexual activity, but the BDSM, it can be an art.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how really at its core something like kink and BDSM in particular does not actually have to be sexual. I know it is for a lot of people, and that's great. But I've seen plenty of aces kind of use it as a way to bridge the gap sometimes if they're in, a relationship where one partner is on the ace spectrum and the other one is not. One of the other things people tend to mix up is being asexual and being aromantic. And a lot of people assume that if you're asexual at all, if you're anywhere on the spectrum, that you might not ever be interested in having a romantic partner. So I wanted to ask a little bit about your experience with that and maybe how your orientation has sort of affected that relationship.
Every single person that I have been intimate with, I was in a romantic relationship or I was in a very close friendship. And for the longest time, like I said, I thought it was just me being abstinent. I genuinely thought this is abstinence, but then I realized, like, later down the line, now I was not experiencing abstinence. I was not actively choosing not to engage or do anything. I was genuinely repulsed by it. I don't know. Like, it's very weird. Like, I feel like that's common though, like at least with it, like asexuals, it's like they'll go and they'll like genuinely not be attracted to somebody, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. I guess I like you. All right.
Yeah, it is, I think, confusing at first to sort of, instead of having that instantaneous attraction or that spark that people describe, for it to take a lot longer sometimes, or for you to even, not be sure what you're feeling.
I also want to acknowledge if somebody's watching this and is in a situation where maybe their partner is invalidating them or not respecting, their boundaries or how they feel, like, don't be afraid to kick someone to the curb, even though I know it's hard and it's scary and you may genuinely have feelings for a person, but don't like stay with somebody just because you're scared of being alone or you're scared of, like whatever the reasons are. Like, if a person is invalidating you or putting you in a situation that you don't want to do something or you're uncomfortable, like, do not be afraid to walk away.
Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of people who are on the asexual spectrum who have, ended up in really bad relationships with people who just didn't understand. People who believe that classic narrative that something is wrong with you or that you're broken if you sort of don't experience sexual attraction in the same way that everybody else does. And also in some cases, if you do, still engage in sex, sometimes partners will use that to, invalidate or take advantage of an spectrum partner, and it's really horrifying. It's awful, and I think that's why we just need more visibility and more education around the asexual spectrum so that people can understand, and so that when we get into intimate relationships, that we're able to advocate for ourselves. And I kind of want to cue off of that and ask another question, which is in regard to asexuality and sort of the rest of the queer community in general. I think all of us who are on the ace spectrum are aware of the lovely discourse that exists where, there are some people who have been saying, aces don't count, aces aren't queer, aces don't belong in the community. Have you ever encountered that, and how does that make you feel?
Personally, I've not encountered that, but I definitely have seen it online, and I've watched videos about it and stuff like that. And to that I say, look, we're a community and we're supposed to be in this together, because for so long we have faced oppression and we have faced so much tragedy and so much loss within the community that we should be coming together. And to sit here and be like, oh, we're inclusive, but you're not allowed, like, I feel like that just goes against what the community was founded on. People have fought so hard to build the community, and now it just feels like we're fighting over very, very petty stuff. And I hate the fact that I've been asked to prove my sexuality, and I think that is very disgusting, and I feel like nobody should have to prove anything to anybody. And especially like focusing not just on my asexuality, but the bisexual part. Holy cow, there is so much biphobia in the community, and it's not cute. It's not a good look. I know the topic is on asexuality, but like my identity is I am demi-bisexual. And so the reason why I make it a point to say demi-bi is you can be demisexual and gay, you can be demisexual and straight. So demisexual or being asexual, it can go hand in hand.
Yeah, I always like to describe it as they're not mutually exclusive, and you can be bisexual and demisexual together. You can be pretty much any combination. And I think a lot of ace phobia is recycled biphobia. And I think it's an interesting point that you said you have not encountered it like in person, but online you've seen it, and that's been my experience too. I have not ever had anyone in real life tell me to my face that asexuals don't count as queer, but I've seen it rampantly all over the place online and don't believe it because it is nothing but BS. Asexuals, anybody on the asexual spectrum, we all absolutely count as queer, so don't believe anyone who tells you otherwise.
Do not be afraid to hit that block button. Do not be afraid if someone tries to invalidate you or just make you feel a type of way about your sexuality. Just wipe them clean. You don't need them. You don't need that on your timeline. You don't need that.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So, what advice do you have for people who might be questioning their orientation and sort of discovering that they might be somewhere on the asexual spectrum?
YouTube is definitely a great platform. I'm sure if you type in the term asexual, demisexual, you'll find a lot. And also Facebook, they have so many support groups and people that you can reach out to. Don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, well, obviously, like, be careful, be safe, stranger danger, all that stuff. But like the internet, it's a really great tool. There's a lot of amazing people out there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree about using the internet as a resource and also reaching out to people in person. I think what really drove home the fact that I wasn't alone was when I started meeting other aces in person. And the way I did that was I actually made a cosplay of Jughead Jones from the Archie comics, covered in like ace pride gear, wore it to a local Comic-Con, and all the aces like magically found me somehow. Talking about it with people, if you are questioning your orientation, whatever that may be, there's a good chance you'll find someone who can relate, and then I think that can really help maybe you go from questioning to getting to the answer.
It's kind of interesting on how I met my friend. I met him through a mutual friend, and then in turn that helped me discover that I was actually part of the community. So I was for me, like, I didn't even have anybody close to me or anybody around me that was asexual or demisexual, and if there are, like, they haven't talked about it with me. So I encourage, like, reach out to people, find support groups.
So I just want to close out by asking if you've got any other thoughts that you want to share to wrap up.
If you are questioning, and if you are going through that kind of period, you're not sure, you don't have to put a label on it, and it is okay to take your time and to do research. Like, no one should ever, like, force a label or force anything on you that you don't want. And don't be afraid to say no. It is okay to say no. You do not have to do anything you don't want to do. And if a person in your life is making you feel small and like something is wrong with you, kick them to the curb. Like, you are strong and amazing and powerful, and you don't need that in your life. So stay true to yourself and don't be afraid to explore your identity.
All right, well, Scareoline, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. Just so that everybody has all the information, go ahead and shout out all the different social media where you want people to follow you.
Instagram, yes, please follow me there. It is Scareoline _SFX _2000. Same thing for my Twitter, Scareoline, SFX. And, for 18 plus, if you wanna, all you gotta do is type up Scareoline and you want to check out my OnlyFans, please, you are more than welcome to.
You can also follow me on any social media platforms at GC Kinsey. And if you want to watch any other videos on this channel while you're here, I've got lots more vlogs like this one about my experiences as a queer person. I also have makeup demos and I have cosplay music videos, so stick around, check out some other stuff. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this, and make sure all of your friends watch this too. Share it with all the aces in your life, share it with all the non-aces in your life. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you so much again for all of your support. Thank you so much again, Scareline, and I will see all of you on the next one.